Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill. Inertia is a property of matter. Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Welcome back, Corkies, to Crips and Corks. I'm your host, DJ, here with Bill Nye's number one fan,
Paul, as usual.
Paul.
And the folks at home are welcome for that. You know, educating the children since the early 2000s. Get into Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I'm speechless. You've moved me beyond words.
That's fine, because I have things to talk about and discuss.
Go ahead while I try to regain my composure.
So I was scrolling. This week I was giving a good old scroll to the good old Amazon Prime. And I came across a movie that touched me in a way I haven't been touched in a while. It's called...
By your dad?
Not recently, but...
Sorry, low-hanging fruit.
So, this movie starred my good girl Anne Hathaway.
Does this movie have a name?
It's called The Idea of You, and it's a good old romance starring my good girl Anne Hathaway.
The good Judy.
Oh my god, Anne Hathaway looks so good for her age. Like,
yeah, I always forget she's in her 40s.
And the co-star of her movie was Nicholas Galson, or however you say it, but if you don't know him, he's the blonde one from Red, White, and Royal Blue. And the whole premise of this movie is the lady is 40 years old, and she falls in love with a 24-year-old, right? And he's super famous. Mm-hmm. He's like a famous pop star. So, like, the movie explores if it's, like, ethical for them to be dating, and, like, dating like that in the social media age, in the public eye, and she has kids that are his age, younger than he is. Like,
I've got a hot take.
Yeah.
If the roles were reversed, and he was in his 40s, and she was in his 20s, he'd be an absolute badass for catching her.
Yeah.
But suddenly, when it's a woman who's in the older role and the man's in the younger, it's unethical and it's a problem. And this is part of the great patriarchy, which is just the basis of our society.
I could see it the other way, too, where the man's seen as like a creep and a predator for doing that.
I mean, a lot of times a man would be seen as a creep.
Yes.
But when it's consensual, it's that man, he bagged a good woman. We very rarely, like when we see a couple who are married, mm-hmm. whether it's in the news or out in the bar, and he's older and she's younger, mm-hmm. it's just like, okay, that's a thing. But like you said, an older woman is with a younger man, and it's like this great debate of, should they be seen together?
Yeah, I don't know. It did bring up a lot of like ethical and moral debates. And the movie does explore that. It's a very interesting movie for sure. And it just brings up the topic of whether or not two people of that age should be dating, and like, what is an ethical age gap for legal adults? It's very interesting because, you know, Stan Chris's husband is like, well, not husband, boyfriend's like probably like 40 years older than he is, and everyone's cool with it.
Yeah, so if it's consensual,
yeah,
why are we yucking yums?
That's true.
And also, like you said with Stan Chris, that's two men. Who cares? If it was a man and a woman. We see this all the time in movies, in TV, in reality TV, in social media. We see these girls our age or younger, in their 20s, marrying these 40, 50-year-old men.
Yeah.
With money. And it's like, oh.
She did it for the money,
she
girl.
Did. And that's the thing. She did it for the money. And other men look at that man and go, damn, you're lucky.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, in the movie, there were some people who said she was lucky, and there were some people who were like, oh, she's a cougar. She, like, preyed on him or whatever. But also the movie brings up, like, social media topics about, like, because she ended up being very heavily in the social media and how that affected her family after being in this very publicized age gap relationship. And it explores a lot of topics. I would go watch it. It was a good one. It raises a lot of debates and moral and ethical issues. So go ahead and watch that one. I also came across this movie called Bottoms. Really funny movie. I recommend that as well.
Oh, yeah. Also with Nicholas Galanstein.
Exactly.
Sorry, truck just went by.
Yep, truck just went by. What can you do, Do you have anything to bring forward? Do you have anything to bring forth for the conversation?
Yes.
Okay.
And unfortunately, this is one of those moments when we have to be rather serious.
Yes.
And we apologize for that because Crips and Corks is supposed to be something fun for all of this, a source of entertainment and joy. But there are certain times when we just do have to address what's going on in the world at large. And just this past weekend when we're recording this, there was an assassination attempt made on former President Donald Trump. And we feel the need to say that here at Crips and Corks, we condemn any types of political violence propagated by any party against any party. It is not acceptable. It is un-American. We support free and fair and democratic elections without the need of these tactics used in less civilized societies. And yeah.
And that's how your week was.
Did you see the video of Rudy Giuliani at the Republican National Convention? He was so drunk he fell over.
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's
see
hilarious.
That. Is he like the new running mate, or is that someone else?
No, that's J.D. Vance. Is the new running mate.
Vance for refrigeration?
No, but this is the guy who wrote Hillbilly Elegy.
Oh, the memes I've been seeing now make sense. Okay, because I saw today on my good old feed books to read other than Hillbilly Elegy, and I was like, what happened to the Hillbilly Elegy? But now it makes sense. Okay.
I saw one tweet, and it was, you should not vote for Trump Vance for the sheer fact that Hillbilly Elegy ruined Amy Adams's career.
So, okay, we get to discuss this after, because I have questions now. Okay, period. How did your week go? Anything else happen in your week that you would like to discuss?
Let me see. Trump got shot, J.D. Vance. It's very hot still. I'm not here for it.
Maybe he should be.
I finished a book yesterday.
Oh.
It was really good.
Okay.
My Fair Brady
Literacy
by Brian D. Kennedy. It is a queer romance, high school musical theater, coming of age. It's very, very cute for anyone who likes that. Hopefully one day when we get our OnlyFans up and running, we can do DJ's Book Club where we can do some kind of live chat about books.
That would be cool. Yes, I am excited to get our OnlyFans up and running
One
again.
of these days.
Nothing sexual is happening on it. Don't
fully
get your hopes
clothed.
up.
Totally.
It's
fully
just
clothed.
about the brand.
Yeah.
Get into it. Loser. Not loser. We love you guys. But also, if you got that Vance refrigeration joke, you're an icon, you're a legend, and you have awesome taste in TV. Get into it. Okay. Are you ready? Wait. Do we bring in the new hot guy of the month?
Yeah, you mean the one that I just announced on the 1st?
Yes, exactly. But it's the first time we're talking about him on the actual pod.
Yes, this is the first time on the pod for those of you who don't watch Uncorked. And if you don't watch Uncorked, shame on you.
Go watch
We're
Uncorked.
hilarious there.
Log on to the YouTube channel and watch Uncorked. What are we doing?
So, we of course are discussing... I'm sorry. I just had a stroke.
He doesn't even know.
Oh my god, did you just see that?
I know.
My eyes start twitching and everything.
Ooh,
oh god.
I got scared for a second. I almost called Life Alert.
We're talking about Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell.
Yes.
Okay.
From...
Girl, he don't even know where he... You don't know the name. You don't know where he's from. Some hot guy of the fucking month. Jesus.
Wait. Okay, So, We're talking about Glenn Powell. I know you're probably not going to cut that out. I'm just going to start again.
Just to believe I'm not.
Yes, we're talking about Glenn Powell from movies such as Twisters, which is coming out this summer.
Okay.
He was also in Top Gun Maverick. He was on Scream Queens. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
He played Chad Radwell.
He played Chad in Scream Queens?
Yeah,
That's
that
crazy.
was my first. That was my first introduction to him, and then he also was in Hidden Figures. He played John Glenn, the astronaut.
Oh, okay.
And that's when I realized, oh wow, you're actually a really good, nice guy as well, because his character on Scream Queens was a dick.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, Glenn Powell was in Top Gun Maverick. Well, he's actually a licensed pilot himself.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I'm here for that, actually.
And his co-star in Top Gun Maverick, none other than Tom Cruise. Yes, the Scientology stuff is really creepy, but still, Tom Cruise paid for him to go to flight school and to get that license.
That's actually kind of crazy. What a crazy life he's living. Girl, my life is so sad compared to that. Could you imagine Tom Cruise paying for your flight school?
Well, I mean, he was in a movie with Tom Cruise.
And also, sorry if Tom Cruise is canceled. I'm not aware of any of Tom Cruise's lore. So.
Oh, he's been canceled. All the Scientology stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, it's like a low-key cancel. Like, we don't stand him, but we still see his movies.
Okay, period. Okay.
So, before I have another episode on that, can we drink?
Yeah, let's drink. Let's get into today's wine. Let's see what we're drinking today, kids. We are drinking good old Hyogram. It's a Zinfandel wine.
Oh.
A Lodi Zinfandel, whatever that means. There's a good old picture of a goat on the front. It's kind of small, but there's a little goat on here. I'll put a picture on, don't worry.
I had to. You said goat.
It's fine. And again, we have another one without a description. It just says,
oh, come on.
Hyogram 2021 Zinfandel.
Do you want me to try and look up a description while you get the cork ready to go?
It says cellared and bottled by Hyogram Wines in Sonoma, California.
Oh, we love Sonoma.
Let's see how well I do.
Wait. No, don't cut through the paper. Pull the paper off.
Why?
Because it makes it easier.
DJ hates me. He
I
doesn't
know
want me to see. He doesn't want to see me poke through the wine condom.
Yeah, I can't get it off, so poke through the wine condom.
Yay, poking condoms. Here at Crips and Quirks, we fully and wholeheartedly support poking holes in your friends' condoms. Come on, pregnancy.
Actually, yeah. Did you ever see that post on the internet and it was like... Wait, what was it?
I should have did this beforehand. Okay.
Good pop!
That was a good pop. Let me set this one down and let's give it a good old pour.
Please get the wine condom. I let you leave the wine condom on there. Just don't pour through it.
Alright, I guess I'll pour for the audience on the YouTube.
That smells nice.
So they can see what we're doing here. Don't say I didn't do anything for our YouTube listeners and watchers. Gosh darn it. Okay, kids.
Cheers. That's nice.
Huh. She's dry. Drier than I expected. Ooh, I don't mind that. I'm gonna give this a 2.5. It's not the best, but it's not the worst.
I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Well, you like dry wines. You like it dry.
I like rich reds like this. It's not. It's drier on the drier side of rich, but.
Well, one thing about you is you like it dry. You go in dry all the time.
That's why my pussy looks like a tombstone.
Oh my gosh.
Tell me a story, Paul.
All right, let me get into today's tale. So, okay.
Oh.
Serious time.
Has a story, can't even speak. What's going on?
The thing about my intro is I started out with the hardest word in the intro. Why did I do that?
Jesus, Paul.
Okay. So, Japherophobia is defined as the fear of bridges and tunnels. It is something I never really related to. I have crossed many bridges in my time. Yes, I've had the intrusive thoughts about the bridge collapsing into the water below, but nothing too debilitating. I mean, heck, after all, I live in the city of bridges, so that would be pretty rough if I actually had Japherophobia. But what happens when you have more to be concerned about than just the infrastructural integrity of the bridge? What if that bridge harbored more dangers than just it collapsing? What if that bridge was home to some of the most evil paranormal entities in the world? And by the time it was done with you, you'll probably take it collapsing over the paranormal activity that occurs on it. Today, we are going to instill a little Japherophobia into you all as we discuss the infamous Goatman's Bridge.
I'm so sorry. It's not
You really made... Well, it wasn't just you, it was me too.
Satyrophobia is just such a fun word to me.
It's Japherophobia. It starts with a G.
Japherophobia? You started to say that you said it and I went, I think I have an aunt named that.
Oh my god. Shut the fuck up, bitch.
Like it's one of those, it just
Girl.
sounds like one of those weird Victorian names and it's like, can I go to the family album and find an aunt
Japherophobia. Girl, let me name my daughter Japheria real quick.
I mean,
let me get up in
they
that
were naming kids
Japheria.
Euphemia.
After Hiroshima.
No!
They liked the bomb so much they named their daughter
Jesus,
after it.
Paul, you went dark.
Girl, I didn't go that dark. But also, this is going to be a very dark episode, so I have some trigger warnings for all the kids at home. So, trigger warnings: suicide, sexual violence, demonic activity and possession, hate crimes, and animal sacrifice.
So basically, when you use a puck wedgie as a fleshlight, this is what's going to go on.
Exactly. Very that. But
plot twist. That's my theory.
Okay.
That's my theory for the story.
Okay, period.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop interrupting.
Sorry, I bet that was a good joke. I just didn't get it. I apologize.
Because you're talking about, like, demonic possession.
Yeah.
Animal sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And in Bridgewater, you said you were going to use a puck wedgie as a fleshlight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, those puck wedgies better be watching out, because I wasn't joking, bitch. I'm coming for every one of you little bitches. Okay. So the real name for this bridge is the Old Alton Bridge and is in Denton County, Texas. Now, how did this bridge get the nickname Goatman's Bridge? Well, there are two stories that contribute to that name. The first story happened in the 1860s when some Copper Canyon cowboys lynched a Creole slave goat herder named Jack Kendall, which, before we move forward, Jack Kendall was the name on the website, well, multiple websites, but I highly doubt that was that slave's actual name because it's a very Americanized name, so I think that's probably just the name they gave them in folklore, you know? But...
Or the name that whoever claimed to have owned him
exactly
gave him.
Exactly.
But we're unaware if that's the name he actually went by.
Right, because it sounds a little too Americanized for a Creole
There's actually
slave.
a really good show on PBS called The Long Song, and it kind of covers that where a British woman takes a slave, an African-American slave, well, African-Jamaican, I guess, because they're in Jamaica.
Okay.
But the slave's name is Miss July, but she calls her Marguerite.
I like Miss July better.
And there's this moment when, the woman's in front of her husband, and she goes, Marguerite. Her husband goes, her name is Miss July.
Period. Get into it. Correct that, bitch. So, the cowboys lynched Jack Kendall, right? And they say that they lynched him near a tall tree that was by where the bridge now stands today. And when they went to hang them, they actually lynched him like so much that when they went to hang him, it actually separated his head from his body.
Oh.
And after the head was separated from the body, it's on the ground. And to the cowboy's horror, the body stood up without a head, went to one of the nearby goats, removed the head from that goat and put it on his own head to use as his own head, because his head was
it's so
removed.
Sleepy Hollow.
It very much is.
Oh.
And yeah, that's one story of how he became the Goatman. He ripped that head off the goat, and people also say that he reanimated due to voodoo, and he was under like a voodoo spell or something. So, and that makes sense. Like down south, real slaves. Yeah.
And cowboys did this?
Yeah, they said the cowboys lynched him. Yeah.
You know, I never did like Texas Cowboys.
Why? Oh, wait, Dallas. Oh my God, you bitch.
Their cheerleading team just isn't up to snuff.
Jesus. I actually stand the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
I do too, them. But the joke, I had to make the joke.
I feel you.
It was there. Low-hanging fruit, that's all I grabbed for.
Me too. So, the second story was about 150 years ago, and there was a goat farmer named Oscar Washburn. He was very successful and had very high-quality goat-related products like cheeses, meats, all that stuff. He was doing really well, really knew how to tame the goat.
Oh, what does that mean? That sounds so gross.
That's just a word I just came up with.
Ugh.
So
I was sitting here because you said goat cheese, and I'm thinking I don't like goat cheese. And Tame the Goat came through, and I was just like, ugh.
I love goat cheese. No, get into some goat cheese.
No goat cheese, no blue cheese.
Well, the old Autumn Bridge, which is now Goatman's Bridge, was right by his house, so we hung a sign up that said, "This way to the Goatman," because he called himself the Goatman because he sold goat products. And this
kind of cute.
Yeah.
Kind of cute and sweet.
He was trying to attract the attention.
And I'm sure the kids would come by and he'd give them little treats, and everyone would love going to see the Goatman.
I imagine, probably. But this also caught negative attention. See, Oscar was also African American, so this caught the attention of the KKK members in town.
Oh.
And so the KKK members eventually went to Oscar's house. They kidnapped him, took him to the bridge, lynched him, and hung him from the bridge. And so they left for a period of time, not too clear why they left for a period of time, and then came back to see their work and make sure he was dead. But when they went to the noose, he wasn't there anymore. So when he wasn't there anymore, the KKK members were enraged, and they went to his house and set it on fire. And his wife and kids were in the house and perished in the fire. And it's not said what actually happened to Oscar, but some people say that his spirit is actually the Goatman. So whether you believe in the cowboy story and whether the cowboy story, if that's Goatman, or if Oscar's Goatman, those are two theories of what the Goatman could be, what spirit is actually the Goatman to this day. But I've also heard another theory that Oscar is a separate entity from the Goatman, and he's actually a very benevolent entity, and he's actually a nice entity.
I like that theory.
I do too. And you know what supports that theory?
What?
What I'm going to talk about next. Let's talk about the actual entity that is called the Goatman that is haunting the bridge to this day. So, a theory is the Goatman is supposedly a demonic entity that is said to be the accumulation of all the negative things that happened over the years on this bridge and the surrounding area. So, again, what negative things happened on the bridge besides Oscar's and Jack's deaths? Well, everything from suicides. Oh. Now, one thing about the suicides is they'll find cars in the woods around them that are just abandoned, and they won't find the owner of the car. Obviously they can look up and see whose car it was, but they don't find bodies or anything. Now, some people say, other than suicide, that these are people who we'll get into it. I'll get into that later. But other spooky things that happen are like satanic rituals, Ouija boards, and even animal sacrifices. So all of that negative energy accumulated. Some people say the Goatman is just that manifestation of all the negative energy on that bridge and from all the activities that also happen around that bridge and in the woods. Right. So there's actually a term for this. It's called an egregore, which basically means an entity created by collective thought at a given location.
Oh, like a tulpa.
Yeah, tulpa, poltergeist, things like that.
Okay.
So some people think that that's actually what the Goatman is that he's an egregore. He's the accumulation of all the negative energy and thoughts that have happened at this bridge in the surrounding woods over the years. So, what does the Goatman look like? I'm sure you're all asking yourselves at home. So,
does he look like Glenn Powell?
Unfortunately not.
Oh.
I don't know what Glenn Powell looks like, but I assume he doesn't look like the Goatman.
No, Glenn Powell's pretty.
Ooh. Well, the Goatman is said to be 8 feet tall, and some stories claim that he is taller than just 8 feet tall. He has glowing eyes, and he's half man, half goat, with black or red fur and horns that wrap around like a goat, you know? Spooky. The Goatman is also said to be very disrespectful to women.
Oh.
Yes, he really hates women. And I already said this, but he's not tied to the bridge, but also the woods around the bridge. He's not just confined to the bridge.
I don't know. I know that there are a lot of stories from the South of white women accusing African American men of assaulting them. Yeah. Which would lead to lynching.
Yeah.
So could it be in one of those origin stories? Not like the ones you told, but could like possibly the real origin story, something like that have happened?
Maybe. I don't doubt it.
I'm not saying that's a shitty thing for the woman to do. And like I could see why and it could be like it's not necessarily the ghost of a person, but rather the residual anger, hatred, like one for vengeance that they felt in their last moments.
Yeah, like an egregore, like I said.
Yes. And like that's why.
That would make sense. Okay. I like that theory. That theory. So, do you want to know the best way to summon the Goatman?
No.
Too bad. The best way to summon the
Can I plug my ears?
What?
Can I plug my ears?
No.
Listeners, don't listen to this part.
Oh my gosh. The best way to summon the Goatman is...
Jesus!
3 knocks on the bridge.
That was really calamitous. I wasn't ready for that.
That's why I did it. Again. 3 knocks on the bridge.
I nearly took the whole table with me.
Girl. Another way to summon the Goatman. Now, this goes back to when cars were allowed to be on the bridge. Cars are no longer allowed to be on the bridge, okay? It's just a walking bridge now, but when cars were on the bridge, it said you could also, while you were driving on it, honk 3 times and that would summon the Goatman. But one thing I like to tie into this is sometimes demons, they'll knock 3 times to mock the Holy Trinity. Yes. So I think it's very interesting the way to summon the Goatman, knocking 3 times, mocking the Holy Trinity like that. I think that's a very interesting parallel to draw into this situation.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of instances of demonic possession and demonic infestation, because if it's a demon around this bridge, then it's an infested bridge. That's the first stage.
Right.
Where the demon takes up residence in a location. And so a lot of things that demons do are it mocks Christian belief system by turning around, like speaking Latin but backwards. Latin being the language of the Catholic Church for thousands of years or hundreds of years.
Yeah.
or just like, or like in The Exorcist when she with the crucifix.
Oh, like she killed herself?
No, she masturbated with it.
Oh, yeah. Just mocking the Holy Trinity in general.
Yeah, just mocking it like, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting parallel to draw into it. Because, like,
yeah.
So, moving on. Now let's talk about another entity named Steve.
How many entities are on this fucking bridge?
There's a lot, but we're only going to name a few.
Oh, Jesus.
So, tell me what you think when you hear the name Steve.
I think I had a date with a guy named Steve once.
Okay. What do you think in general? What do you think a guy named Steve is like?
I think a nice, a little nerdy even.
Right. Nice, chill.
Yeah,
fun,
little nerd. Like,
nice guy.
Yeah, nice guy, chill. Very respectful.
Exactly.
This guy's the opposite of that, isn't he?
He is very much the opposite.
Fucking fantastic.
And some people say he's scarier than the Goatman himself.
Oh, great.
So, Steve is actually the spirit of a former KKK member.
Oh.
He was a former Grand Dragon and led 250,000 KKK members.
Wait, I'm sorry, this is so not funny. And I hate to make fun of this. But he's literally a ghost in a sheet.
Yes.
Because he's literally a ghost in a sheet.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he manifests in his, like, garb, but yeah, he's a KKK ghost.
If he does, he's literally a ghost with a sheet over his head.
Yes. Okay, moving on.
Yes.
So, Steve had 3 wives, but he wanted a 4th.
So he killed his first 3.
No, he kidnapped a girl to be his 4th wife.
Oh my god.
And he would beat this poor girl and even essay her. The young lady eventually ended up taking her own life. The beatings in essay got so bad. Now, Steve not only would beat and whip her, he would actually bite her as well all over her body.
No!
He actually bit her so much that the coroner that examined the body contributed cannibalism to one of the causes of her death.
Ugh.
Steve was a sick bastard.
Yeah.
He was an awful human.
Did somebody kill him?
I'm not sure.
Or did he die of natural causes? Because if he died of natural causes, that is a shame.
I agree.
He should have been locked the fuck up.
I completely agree.
I don't even believe in the death penalty, but like for him, I'll make an exception.
He was a sick bastard. He was a sick fuck. And he deserves all the karma he ever gets in his life, and I hope he gets the worst karma.
Well, I mean, he's stuck haunting a bridge, so that can't be good karma.
Right. Well, people say that why they say he is the worst is because oftentimes his name will come up in like a spirit box or something, and then he'll scratch people. So he's basically one of the main entities that will physically harm people at the bridge. Steve, he's not only a sick bastard in life, but a sick bastard afterlife, and he haunts the Goatman Bridge to this day.
For real.
What?
One of the Devil's Own.
Exactly. One of his legions. So, other entities said to haunt the woods around the area are people in dark cloaks, right? Like, you know how Satan worshippers, they put on dark
stereotypical
cloaks? Exactly. So, basically, people say they will see them in around the woods just watching them. They won't come forward or anything, just like in the woods, creepily watching them.
I don't like that.
Because I said there's a lot of satanic activity that happens there, right? And not only, a lot of satanic activity happens in the woods around the bridge and on the bridge. Lots of people bring Ouija boards. Lots of crazy stuff happen. But again, the people in the dark cloaks are one of the entities that are said to haunt the bridge in the woods around. Oh, not the bridge, the woods around it. My bad. It's the woods around it. Also in the woods around it, there is a tree that you can see from the bridge that is said to be a portal to the other side.
Oh, no.
Now, there is said to be a lot of satanic activity around this tree, and the Satanists use it as like a portal. Well, not just a portal, but also like an altar, and they like pray around it and things. And I'm going to show you a quick picture of this tree, right?
Do you want me to bring it up on the screen?
because it is a split.
Here, I can just bring it up on the screen.
Okay. Well, basically, it's a split tree, right? So it's like open in the center. It's like split down the middle. And people say if you go through the middle of this tree, that'll take you to the other side. That's the actual portal. It's the split that goes down the middle of this tree, right? And there's a lot of graffiti on the tree and everything. There's a graffiti all over the bridge, but honestly, this bridge is very accessible to the public, and
Don't like that.
me either. And I have a whole discussion about that later down the line. So moving on from the tree. I have 2 stories. Yep, I have 2 stories about the bridge for you. So, there's a story of 2 friends on the bridge at night, and they hear a growling voice on the bridge. The one friend runs off the bridge because he heard that growling noise, but the other friend stayed on the bridge. Now, the one friend who ran off the bridge realized that his friend wasn't following him, and he looked back.
Oh no.
And he saw his friend being dragged to the side of the bridge. And eventually, he was pulled over the side of the bridge and down below. Now, the friend survived, but could you imagine, like, it's like dark outside, right? And you see your friend being pulled to the side of the bridge and just tossed over the bridge by an unseen force? Spooky shit. Spooky.
I'm sorry, but if we ever go on a paranormal investigation and we run and you're not behind me, I'm leaving you.
Honestly, I don't doubt that. Because one thing about you is you're spookable.
Yeah, and if we're ever on a paranormal investigation and, like, we're trapped somewhere, you have my full permission to cannibalize my body after I die. Because we both know I'm going to be the first one who dies.
I don't know about all that. I don't think I'd do that. I think I'd just starve myself to death.
No, just, like, the thighs make nice steaks, so just go for that first.
I think I'm fine. I'm good. I'll see you on the other side. Like our homegirls, 2 girls, 1 ghost said. We'll see you on the other side.
Oh, Jesus. That's not copyright infringement. We played that was paying homage.
Yes. We love you, 2 girls, 1 ghost. My next story is about a girl named Lauren who heard about Goatman's Bridge and the stories around it, right? She wasn't too much of a believer, so she decided she was going to go to the bridge herself and explore, obviously.
Stupid.
She also made the mistake of going alone, which...
Stupid!
I agree. So, Lauren gets to the bridge. She's walking back and forth. She's investigating. She decides to go leave the bridge for a little bit and walk on the trails in the woods. Doesn't experience anything, right? So she's like, okay, I'm here at this bridge, lots of urban legends, I'm bored, I'm tired, time to go home, this is tired, like, we're done. So she starts walking back to her car on the trail, and then she feels an energy behind her. And she turns around and she sees a woman in white. Now,
what don't they have here? I think it's going to be easier. Tell me what entity they don't have here.
God only knows, girl.
Do they have kids? Do they got soldiers?
Actually, they don't have either of those, from what I gather.
Okay.
Period.
I'm trying to think.
And actually, this woman in white has been seen multiple times on that bridge, right? Some say the woman in white might be Oscar's wife that burned in the fire. And other people say that this entity or spirit of the woman in white, it might be someone whose car was left there, like one of the suicide people who left their car there and their car was abandoned or whatever. So there's theories about who this woman in white could be. So she turns around, she sees this woman in white, and she's scared. She's looking at this woman in white, and then she noticed the woman in white looks scared too.
Oh no.
And the woman in white isn't looking at her.
No.
She's looking past her.
No.
So Lauren turns around. Lauren turns around and she sees it. The Goatman walking right towards her.
Oh, walking?
Yes.
I think walking is scarier than, like, being right behind or charging, just like that. Coming to you and, like, so confident he's going to get you.
Right. Could you imagine just the situation in general? You turn around to see a ghost.
I would rather not.
Oh.
I'd rather not. Like, come face to face with a ghost who looks terrified because of another ghost. thank you, next.
Right? Isn't that story terrifying?
In the words of Ariana Grande, thank you, next.
Exactly. Thank you, next. But unfortunately, that's all I could find about her story. That's where her story always ends.
Well, I guess she survived.
She must have, because someone told the story, or that, or it's folklore. Maybe someone made it all on up. Who knows?
We don't talk about folklore and Crips and Corks. No!
Right. So one thing I want to touch on is some of the investigations that occurred at the Goatman's Bridge. And I guess we'll have to talk about the most famous one first. That of Ghost Adventures investigation with Zach Baggins.
Zach!
So
I'm sorry. I was doing a mating call.
So during this investigation, Zach actually almost gets possessed, right?
What else is new?
Right. He does his thing. He almost gets possessed.
Let me amend myself.
First of all,
I'm glad it wasn't Nick. Normally it's Nick.
Yeah. But to be fair, Zach did do some sort of ritual from, I think it was like an offshoot of voodoo. He did like
I remember.
Yeah, I think he did a ritual that he didn't fully understand, and it came back to bite him in the butt. And also, his co-investigator, Aaron, was thrown back about 20 feet, which he was thrown back quite a lot. Like,
did they catch it on camera?
No. So, basically, what happened is the camera was on him, and then it panned away, and then it pans back, and he's 20 feet away. So, of course, they didn't catch it on camera. So, what... I don't mean to be such a skeptic, guys. I definitely believe...
But, I mean, if they pan... 20 feet is a long distance.
It is.
And it would be pretty hard to... Well, you would have to do it so that you pan so slowly and pan so slowly back that you speed it up, and it looks like it's just slow. Or, like, it looks like it's just, like, a second.
That's true.
And that's a little hard to do.
That's true. Well...
You'd have to time it perfectly.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think down below. Do you think this was real? Go ahead
I'm
and
willing
watch
to
it.
give this a maybe.
Maybe. Okay, period. Another thing that happened on this investigation was their director of photography ended up actually getting possessed, and apparently her eyes did turn black
on camera.
Not that I'm aware of, because I don't think she wanted to be on camera, because she's just the director of photography. And apparently she even quit the show after this experience at the Goatman Bridge. After being
One thing I will give Ghost Adventures is you do hear a lot of stories about people quitting because of paranormal experiences and not because of like the normal disputes that happen like on a reality TV show.
That's very true. No, that's very true.
And like people like they'll leave. And people will be like, "Why'd you leave?" And it's like, something crazy happened to me, and I couldn't go back.
Yeah, it's too much for some people. And again,
which if Zach Baggins was a fake and a fraud, why wouldn't they say like, you know what, the money wasn't worth lying anymore?
Right.
Like if it was something else, like why would you say some crazy shit happened?
That's true. I don't know. But
not to be a Zach Baggins apologist.
Right. And I don't mean to sound like such a skeptic this episode, because I do think there is something going on at the Goatman's Bridge. I do think there are entities there.
It's good to approach things rationally first and see where rationality and logic don't fit.
Yeah. One thing I will say, so that's how BuzzFeed Unsolved, because BuzzFeed Unsolved...
I saw that one.
They explored this location, and they did approach it like the one guy doesn't really believe. And you know what? They really didn't experience anything much or too crazy. Actually, the one non-believer... No, the one guy who doesn't believe in this stuff at all, he was on the bridge and he said, "Mr. Goatman, I'm dancing on your bridge."
He was like taunting him.
Yeah. Which it was actually I thought it was kind of funny. I was doing it. He said, "I dance on your bridge, Mr. Goatman."
But also, I am very much of the theory that like ghosts are people too.
Yes.
And so when you go for an investigation, if you mock or make fun of or don't take it seriously, they're not gonna show themselves. Not because like, oh, I'm not gonna give you what you want, but like as I don't want to be around you, and they just leave.
Right, because no one wants to be around like a loud, annoying person. Like,
And
no
like
one wants
maybe the Goatman is like Oscar, and he's just like stuck like this.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he doesn't actually want to hurt anyone. He's trying to get help, and it's like Steven who's doing all the hurt.
Maybe. That's an interesting theory. Save the Goatman 2024. We're saving the Goatman
and like
in
just
2024.
being like they're like, hey, Mr. Goatman, I'm on the bridge, and like
I dance on your bridge, Mr.
and like
Goatman.
Oscar's like stuck in this half goat, half man form in the afterlife, and he's just like, what the fuck? Like, I was lynched, my family was burned to death in our house. I just want help, and you're making fun of me.
Oh, well, that makes me feel bad now.
Yeah, like I said, ghosts are people too.
Period. Now I feel bad.
Don't
I'm
like
gonna start crying.
so many. I see so many investigators who don't take investigations seriously, and it does irk me.
Mm-hmm.
But if we ever investigate, of course, we're gonna like go in and be respectful and treat the ghosts as people.
Yeah, and I'll fight every instinct I have to be like Zach Baggins, because I watched that man for so many years.
Yeah, no, you can't, because if it is something demonic, because here's the thing, if you antagonize it, that's an invitation.
Yeah.
And that's what, so the 3 levels, and we'll get into this, we're going to do probably sooner rather than later, because I keep saying we're going to do an episode on demonic possession.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 levels to it, and it's infestation, where the devil takes over the location. And then there's obsession, where the demon focuses on one person.
Yeah.
And then it is possession, where the demon takes control of the person.
We actually talked about that when we did Annabelle.
Yes, and it can only happen when it's invited in.
Mm-hmm.
And something like come at me, bro, is an invitation.
That is an invitation. I do agree.
I read somewhere once that Satan was the patron saint of lawyers because he was good at finding loopholes.
Oh, that's one thing about demons and Satan. They will find loopholes.
Yes, it's all about loopholes.
Very that. And I will quickly shout out my favorite people, Sam and Colby, for investigating. They did capture some interesting stuff.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. On camera, there was one part of the camera, they were doing a ritual, which, of course, doing rituals to try and summon something. And the candles actually blew out on camera. But again, they're outdoors, so was it the wind? Who knows? Also, their friend, Selena, who was supposed to do... Selena Spooky Boo. You can follow her on TikTok, Twitter, whatever you want to do. But she's a psychic, and she was going to be on this hunt with them. Not hunt, investigation. And she actually got sick the morning of, so she couldn't do it. And when she was on the plane, leaving to go home, and they were still there, she had a dream on the plane about them, like, investigating. And apparently she was, like, screaming on the plane, and they had to wake her up because she was screaming on the plane. And everything that happened in her dream came true. I won't go into details, because go watch the video. It's a really good video. They investigate with Call Me Chris, who her YouTube videos are pretty interesting too. Low-key stan her too a little bit. I don't know enough about her, so if she's canceled, I'm sorry.
For YouTube fans, I'm so sorry you had to watch me take my shirt off. We've discussed how hot it gets in the studio.
It is very hot in the studio.
And I just couldn't take it anymore. After I got scared, I did chug that entire glass of wine, and it just added to the heat. So I apologize that you had to watch me do that. Second of all, I love that Sam and Colby incorporate certain rituals. I don't know. This isn't a critique.
Okay.
This is a request.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that they would explain how it fits into their own belief system.
Yeah.
Because I'm of the belief that, like, there is some sort of universal consciousness and that there's a little bit of truth in all spiritual belief systems.
I agree.
But I believe that protection rituals like that only have power if you're doing what is true to your belief system.
I mean, it's all about the thought and intention.
Yes. So, like, if
You
you're
have to truly believe it to make it happen.
yeah, but like as a Christian spiritualist,
Okay.
if I stole a Wiccan
Mm-hmm.
protection thing, like I steal it and I try to do it, there's the chance that I fuck it up because I'm not properly trained or learned in the beliefs and the practice.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that I fuck it up.
Yeah.
So I wish, and like,
I mean,
Zach Baggins says this too, where he'll like have like people come on and do rituals, but it's not really like, how does this fit into your belief system? Like, why are you are you appropriating this, or is this something that's personal to you?
exactly. Well, yes.
And
I think.
and I know there are some times where you bring in like, it's a ghost that's like supposedly voodoo, so you bring in a voodoo priest. But I'm saying, like, there's been times where, like, you see in investigations, and I'm not saying Sam and Colby or Zach Baggins do this, but you see in investigations, and it's just like, oh, we've decided that we're going to bring in a Native American shaman to smudge this place of the Revolutionary War ghosts that are in here, even though all of us on the investigation team are Catholics.
Well, I think since they're bringing in that Native American person and that Native American person actually believes in this ritual, that it makes it work. It's all about thought and intention.
Yes.
And I think it
Oh,
works.
yes, I misspoke. They didn't bring in a Native American shaman. They did a Native American smudging practice.
Yeah.
Without the shaman. But like if you
Even
don't
without the
believe in it.
shaman. Yeah, if you don't believe in it.
And that's
yes.
the thing, if you just do it like, well, I saw this works on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to set your manifestation for anything to work. And sometimes it just seems like we're just going to do this.
Right.
I read this on Google.
You have to fully 100. Well, not 100, but you have to fully believe.
And like I don't want them to come out and like say all of their beliefs, of course. Like I'm somebody who believes that your spirituality, your faith, your belief system is something personal. If you want to share it, great. If not, great.
Right.
But like just like incorporate like, is this your belief system that like this ritual is gonna work?
Yeah.
And not, we're gonna do this thing. And I say it comes off as a little bit of appropriation because a lot of investigators, and once again, I'm not saying like anyone in particular, but you see them do multiple different rituals.
Yeah.
Rather than like, this is my tried and true one.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. And I agree. You have to believe for something to work.
Yes.
You can't go in just being like, well, we'll...
And I would rather you like explain it if you're going to do something different every time. Because otherwise it just seems clickbait. You're like, oh, well, I did the smudging last episode, so now I'm going to do the paper in the fire. Oh, next time I'm going to do the white candles.
It is kind of clickbaity because it's along with the theme and everything.
Yes.
We did this ritual where? Like, people will click on that. It is kind of clickbaity. I agree. But now that we're talking about things like this, let's get into some of the theories. So, first things first. There is actually no records of Jack or Oscar ever existing.
Okay, but...
Not that they didn't exist.
Exactly.
Record keeping wasn't the best.
No, and oftentimes if you were an enslaved person or if you were a freed black man, you weren't necessarily counted.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be no record of you.
Exactly. So not to say that they don't exist, it's just there's no record.
Or if you had records, yours would be the first that they would lose or get rid of.
Right. Another thing I wanted to discuss was, while I was watching different investigations of this, I noticed there's a road that's pretty close to here. Oh. And you can actually see, cars going by on that road. In some of the... especially if you watch Sam and Colby's video, I definitely noticed, cars going by on the road that's near there.
So it's something like... I know, Gravity Hills, which are a big thing. Have you ever heard of Gravity Hills? It's 3 or 4 hills and phantom lights will appear.
Yeah.
And they found that in certain weather conditions, like the lights from like a street over can get caught.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So maybe the Goatman's glowing eyes might have been like headlights passing by.
Or because didn't you say they were red? Brake lights.
Yeah. And also like noises people hear while they're at the bridge. Maybe it's people going to buy, you know? And like I said, this is a very public area. So people, just like random people, can come on up to you and be like, interfere with the investigation. Because I did look into some of the ghost hunts that they do there. And it doesn't look like you can really like actually rent out the bridge because it's such a public area. Anyone can go there. It's not like it's like, as far as I'm aware, it's not like it's really fenced off or anything. And
also, it's in the middle of the woods, right? And it's closed off to traffic.
Yeah.
There are a lot of animals in the woods who can make different noises.
Exactly.
I mean, and like if you're not familiar with like animals in the woods, like recently Paul and I were in a situation where we were out in nature.
Yeah.
And I noted like what animal was making that noise that sounds like screaming.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, that's like a bullfrog. And it's like, oh, well, like it definitely like if I didn't know that.
Right, and foxes sound like screams too.
Yes,
they have a creepy like noise.
Yes, there are animals who will make noises that sound like screams.
Exactly. And there might be people out there like messing with you.
Yeah, oh my God,
see you're doing an investigation like making random noises and shit.
Also,
like kids do that.
And I'm sure like crackheads, meth heads, like they'll come here to like do stuff.
Exactly. Now, not saying that everything that I experienced there isn't paranormal, because some things probably are. It's just there's so much contamination going on in this one area. It's hard to truly tell what is paranormal and what is like outside sources. Like, of course, people like you see someone like scratches manifesting on people's body, because that did happen in Sam and Colby's video. Is Sam got scratched on his back, so like that stuff you can't explain. But there are other things that like there's so much contamination in the area that can be explained, and that makes
light pollution, noise pollution, population pollution.
Exactly, and that it makes it more dangerous too to investigate.
And I mean, that's like when you do a paranormal investigation, it's like, oh, I see a shadow looking at me by the window. The first thing you look at is, do cars going past create a shadow at that window?
Exactly.
And when you're outside, it's just all the variables. Like you have to like really work hard to roll them up. Like you'd have to shut that road off.
Mm-hmm.
And that would like take out the light and the noise pollution. And then you'd have to like shut that area off for like a mile round radius.
Exactly.
So people couldn't come in to really eliminate all those factors. And then you still have animals. So it's not perfect.
Exactly. And another thing I want to touch on real quick too is I do think that satanic worship does happen there, I think, because people probably hear the lore of this place and they're like, okay, I'm a Satanist worshiper or whatever.
Yeah.
And they go there and they worship thinking like, oh, this is a very powerful spot. And there's actually another story too, that the local pet shops had to stop selling cats because so many cats were getting sacrificed there. I'm not sure how true that story is, but I did hear it from multiple sources that local pet stores did have to stop selling cats because so many cats were getting sacrificed in that area. Which brings up an interesting thing I never thought about before. I know I keep bringing up Two Girls, One Ghost, I'm sorry, but they did bring up, like, why do we have to sacrifice, like, cats and animals like that? Why can't we sacrifice, like, other animals that don't really, like, feel anything, like centipedes and things like that, or, like, fish? Like, why can't we sacrifice...
I do have a theory behind that. And it's not something I came up with. It's something that I actually read in the novel Dracula.
Yeah.
And so we all know the story of Dracula the vampire.
Yeah.
Side character Renfield, who is the insane person in the asylum next to the house that he rents in England.
Yeah.
And Renfield starts by eating flies, and then he moves up to moths, and then he moves up to a bird, and he moves up to a cat.
Yeah.
And he eventually explains that he has to eat so many, like, flies, like a fly's life is worth less than a moth's life. Mm-hmm. So he has to eat so many flies before he's worthy of eating a moth. And he has to eat so many moths before he's worthy of a bird.
Okay.
Or I think it was spiders, not moths. Spiders.
So like that hierarchy of life.
And so it's, yes, and I don't think that's correct in any means, but it could be like, oh, well, a cat, which is something that's loved, is worth more than a centipede.
Right.
And after all, like, in some practices, such as the stereotypical satanic panic Satanism, not real Satanism, which is a real registered religion that we know very little about. And I know, like, the Church of Satan does not advocate for any kind of sacrifice.
Yeah. And they do say that on the Church of Satan website.
Yes.
They don't advocate any sort of...
When we say satanic cults, we're talking about, like, these
offshoots.
stereotypical satanic panic style cults, which do exist, doomsday cults.
Exactly. They are very that. They're cults.
It's the ultimate thing. The ultimate sacrifice is a human sacrifice.
Right.
And it's like, that's the hierarchy of it. So that's just like, there's this weird hierarchy of life.
Interesting. No, that's tea. That makes sense. But I'm going to backtrack a little bit to the ghost tours. I was looking at the main person who does ghost tours there. Her name's actually Becky Vickers, and she actually she said...
What an iconic name.
Yeah, Becky Vickers. Shout out Becky. She's the person who I got a lot of my information from, and she's had so many paranormal experiences there. She actually wrote a book called The Secrets of Goatman's Bridge, and shout out to her. She's awesome. But I was looking at her website, and something interesting about her ghost tour is it says it can be scary for children under 10. And my question is if this place is so haunted and so demonic...
Why are you letting anyone under the age of 18?
Exactly. Why just 10? I feel like if it's this haunted and this demonic and so much stuff is happening, like you said, I feel like the age limit should be a little older.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting about her. Now, that is all I have today for Goatman's Bridge.
I do have a question for you. Okay. You said this is in Denton, Texas?
Yes.
How close is that to Dallas?
I don't know. Let me give it a quick Google search. Denton?
Give that a Google search because my brother lives in Dallas and...
I do want to go to Goatman's Bridge.
Yeah,
I'm not typing.
And I'm like, let's we can like go visit my brother and then like do a little offshoot to Denton to Goatman's Bridge and meet Becky Vickers.
That would be so cool.
But Texas is like a huge state because I know I asked him once.
It's only 47 minutes from Dallas.
Oh my God, that's amazing because one time I was asking my brother like, how close are you to like Galveston? He's like 4 hours. And I was like, really? And he's like, it's a big state.
Girl.
But the fact that it's only 45 minutes.
He's within the hour of the Goatman's Bridge. We're coming. Going.
Connor.
Open up your house. You better open up. Knock, knock.
That's my brother.
No, we're just staying there to see the Goatman. I don't give a fuck about... Well, I take that back. I care about you, Connor.
The whole open up was kind of creepy.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean it like that. Sorry, Connor. I'm not coming for your booty hole or anything. I'm sorry.
No, you ain't. That's one of the rules of our friendship.
Darn it.
Darn.
The podcast is canceled, guys. I'm cut. We're done. Okay. So... Goatman's Bridge. Final thoughts? My final thoughts are, I think it's haunted. I think there's something going down there, and I want to experience it in person. I want to see what's going down.
I would agree with that.
I'm not going to touch the cursed tree, because one story I forgot to tell you about the cursed tree is they were doing a ghost tour of the cursed tree one time, right? And of course there's that 16-year-old boy who's a little asshole. They told him not to touch the tree. What does he do? He touches the tree. And what happens? He gets in a horrific car accident on the way home.
What if it's not a cursed tree? What if it's a fairy tree?
Either way, he got in that car crash.
Because when I was in Ireland, I learned about fairy trees, where it was trees where like fairies used as portals from their like home to our to our realm. And like if you touch a fairy tree, it's very offensive to the fae folk. Ooh. So maybe it's
You heard it here first.
A fairy tree, and that's what happened.
Oh, I don't doubt that, honestly. You know what? I stand the theory. I'm going with that. I like fairy tree better. What's your take on the Goatman's Bridge?
I don't know. I would like to think that it's an amalgamation of stories. I think there's something there.
I agree. I think there's something there.
I think there are some places where there's a story which leads to something being there. I think this is a case of something being there which leads to a story of what is there.
Right.
Because like it's a bridge. Like who's just like stopping on the bridge?
Very that.
Like
very.
lovers' lanes, like haunted lovers' lanes. It's very much like, oh, like the Candy Hook Man or the Candy Man with the hook, like whatever that story is.
Okay.
You've never, like the stereotypical lovers' lane thing. It's like, oh, and then they got out and there was the hook hanging on the door.
I've never heard that.
You never heard that?
No.
What about? I'm not going to get into that one. Maybe that will be a bonus one where I tell you another lovers' lane story.
We'll get
but
there.
like, there's a lot of lovers' lane stories where it's like there's this mythos, but like it started with like guys telling girls this story to get them to jump into their arms, which was like how they made their move.
Okay. Interesting.
Which you know what? I want to say something on that.
Okay.
Is this my camera?
Yes.
If you have to scare your date into embracing you, that is coercion. If you cannot say to your date, "May I kiss you?" you are a weak motherfucker.
I agree with that. And on that, I do have to apologize to you because I don't have a smash or pass for this episode because it didn't really seem like there were any.
No, I thought you were going to be like, Goatman, when you smash or pass, I was going to go hard pass, like I'm really freaked out.
Yeah, he seems a little spooky, but just on the off chance that not the off chance, but just on the chance that those stories are true and he's like the sad spirit of a slave, I don't want to like get into that.
Yeah, and I kind of like my theory of like, it's like Oscar or Jack, and like they're just kind of stuck in this existence, and like they're not trying to hurt or scare anyone.
Yeah, and like everyone else was awful in those stories. So no smash or pass this episode.
That's fine.
Actually, smash or pass Anne Hathaway. Smash. That girl, I was watching her in that movie, girl, and I'm going to keep bringing it up because she is so beautiful. She is so talented.
Oh my god. Wait, no. Princess Diaries.
Bitch, get into that.
Devil Wears Prada.
Oh my god.
Ella Enchanted.
If I was going to be straight for someone, it's Anne Hathaway for sure.
Les Mis. The Intern.
The way she can sing.
Wait, what was that? What was that movie that she was in with Rebel Wilson where they were playing the con women?
Girl, I don't even remember. Is it The Heat? No, that's
no,
McCarthy.
It wasn't The Heat. But, like, you know what I'm talking about, where her and Rebel Wilson were in a movie and they both played con women. Iconic.
Yeah. Anne Hathaway.
Her and Rebel Wilson were both iconic in that movie.
Fucking love Anne Hathaway. Get into Anne Hathaway. And get into Anne Hathaway. And
this was a really good episode. Good job, Paul.
Thank you. I did my best. We always are just out here doing our best, just telling good stories for the kids, and I hope one day we can go out there and actually see Goatman's Bridge and do a good old investigation.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Give you guys the 411 of what's going down there.
I also wonder if like they picked a goat because a lot of people do find goats creepy. I do not. I think goats are adorable.
And bring it back to the 3 taps thing or 3 knocks. Goats are synonymous with Satan, so like the 3 knocks.
They are. That's another good point.
And goes back to that whole.
Maybe it is just all folklore.
Maybe it is.
Which, It's open to interpretation. That's the beautiful thing about Crips and Corks.
Exactly. And why don't you guys give us a good old text? Click the fucking link down below and send us a text and tell us what you think about the Goatman.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice there isn't a link. Sorry, it's through our hosting site and it's not up with YouTube. But if you just go into Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whichever you prefer, you can click the link there and still text us. Or, if you would like, you can also email us at cripsandcorks@gmail.com. Please email us with your comments, with story suggestions, or if you have personal stories. You can also follow us on all of our social media on Facebook and on Twitter at Crips and Corks, or on Instagram and TikTok at Crips and Corks Pod. You can also DM us with your thoughts or story suggestions there, but please guys, stick to emailing us your personal stories. It's just a lot easier to have them collected in one place. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram and TikTok at Paulember, Paulember. And remember guys, as usual, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
And if you would like to follow me, you can follow me both on Instagram and on TikTok at TheRealDHPowers. If you would like to slide into my DMs, just write me a love letter. You can address that to DJ Powers at the Goatman Shack on the left side of Goatman's Bridge. Make sure you include that it's on the left side, because sometimes my neighbor on the right side gets all my mail.
Bitch, I hate it here.
I saw that joke and I ran with it.
That was a good joke. I appreciated that one. And with that,
I think that's all she wrote. So, guys, remember, sometimes the only way to hide from the Goatman or from Steve is to keep your crips tight.
and your corks loose.
Bye! It's fucking hot.
It is so hot.